Hello, you're watching the AtTheRaces.com preview of the Cheltenham Festival. We're going to look at the Champion Hurdle. With me is Mick Fitzgerald in the studio, the Stan James Champion Hurdle coming up. But first of all, let's have a look at the main contenders.
Run down now towards the final flight, and it is in the centre. Our Conor, Hurricane Fly now looming up large on the outside. Jeski on the outside of Captain CB. The final flight in the Ryanair hurdle. Hurricane Fly over in front of our Conor, followed by Jeski. They're racing inside the last 150 yards. It's Hurricane Fly. Jeski running on towards the outside. But Hurricane Fly, it's number 18 Grade 1s for the Champion Hurdler. And there's four in a line as they race for the final flight in the BHB Insurance Irish Champion Hurdle. In the centre, Hurricane Fly. Our Conor is coming there in the centre. Jeski is ridden on the outside, coming down to the final flight. Hurricane Fly. Our Conor put in a tremendous jump on the near side. They're racing inside the last 150 yards. Our Conor, Hurricane Fly is hard ridden on the inside. He's coming back. He's battled like a demon to win it for the fourth time.
Then Cockney Sparrow between horses. Cotton Mill comes next. Melodic Rendezvous 2 from home. My 10 Till Yours over on the far side. Moves through to Joy and Grimetti. My 10 Till Yours leading by over a length. Grimetti in second place. In third is Cockney Sparrow. My 10 Till Yours is over the last. Hangs slightly to the left. Cockney Sparrow rallies into second. Grimetti is third. My 10 Till Yours shaken up. Leads by 3 lengths. And is going to make a thoroughly commendable comeback here in the StanJames.com fighting fifth. My 10 Till Yours is a comfortable winner. Cockney Sparrow was second, Grimetti third.
And it is Annie Power still on the bridle, powering on by just over a length. D'Oyly Cart trying to make a race of it. So too Cockney Sparrow, who's down. Cockney Sparrow rather unfortunately falls there. That was the second last. On the run down towards the final hurdle. A furlong and a half to go. Ruby's looking good on Annie Power. Annie Power's looking good. Annie Power by about 5 or 6 lengths now. On the run down towards the last. D'Oyly Cart one pace in second. Here's the final flight. Annie Power doesn't get very high at the final hurdle. A bit of a scare, but Annie Power's got the job done. 2 miles, no barrier to this mare. Annie Power is now 10 from 10 in her career.
Well, there we saw some of the main contenders, the up-and-coming Annie Power. With me is Mick Fitzgerald. The Champion Hurdle, Mick, I am so looking forward to this because of all the championship races of this year's Cheltenham Festival, this is quality through and through.
I think it's the most open of the championship races as well. And I've been doing the rounds on some of these preview nights, and it was amazing. I was on a panel the other night where you had 4 pretty good so-called pundits. Every single one of us went for a different horse in this race, and I think that shows you the strength of depth that there is in the field. You know, you've got the likes of Hurricane Fly, who's already won 2 champion hurdles. You cannot beat having a horse who's been there before and got winners' medals. He's got 2 of them, and Ruby still kicks himself over getting beaten by Rockin' Ruby on him.
I mean, a horse like Hurricane Fly, well, let's have a look at Hurricane Fly in action now. We can see him here beating, this is at Christmas in the Ryanair hurdle at Leopardstown. And how can you can't crab his form, because he's alleged he's almost unbeatable at Leopardstown. He's, as you say, he's won 2 champion hurdles. Yet, there are many thinking of alternative winners of a champion hurdle.
I just think had he not have got beaten by Rockin' Ruby, a lot of people would have hailed him up there in the same breath as Isterbrak. I don't think until he wins 3, he'll never be hailed as the same as him. I just think that Ruby Walsh has always maintained, and Willie Mullins, that we have not seen the best of this horse in the UK. The Irish have seen him all the time. Every time he runs at Leopardstown, he seems to up his game. But when he comes over across the water, he's not been as sharp or as speedy or as impressive as he has been in Ireland. So you never know, we might see it this year.
But the talk has been that he's, you know, despite advancing years, he's as good, if not better than ever, Ruby's been saying.
Yeah, but I think they've had a trouble-free run with him. You know, we're watching him here in the Irish Champion.
Now this showed real courage, because he got the last flight wrong here.
This was the day when our Conor was supposed to serve it up to him. and steal his crown. But just watch what happens here. Danny Mullins gets a real flyer out of our Conor, and you think now Hurricane Fly, he's been headed. This is when we know what he's got, and you just watch. He's a little terrier, sticks his head out, and in the end, he's going right away from him. And you can see what it means to Ruby Walsh. Like, he's ridden a lot of good horses in his day, and he's never, ever wavered in his love of this horse or how highly he rates him.
I think that was one of his gutsiest wins, because if, as you say, if ever a day, maybe another day will come, but our Conor will beat him, it was going to be then, because obviously he'd stepped up his act from that previous encounter. And in the end, Hurricane Fly won by 2.5 lengths.
Yeah, he did. But, you know, our Conor is a horse that Desi Hughes has never hidden his love of this horse. And you just watch how close they are here. You know, a lot of people have crabbed the form saying that, you know, Captain CB is too close to them. But it was just, it's the way the races are running on. Just look at that. He's completely flat-footed, Hurricane Fly, when he lands over the last. But he's got a lot of flat speed. The horse alongside him is, you know, he's a horse by Jeremy, who's rated mid-80s on the flat. So he should have been able to put it up to him. But in the end, Hurricane Fly has won going away.
I won't ask you what your selection is, but say someone's fancy, they say, I'm going to back our Conor to win the Champion Hurdle. Why would you say that when Hurricane Fly is beating there? What has our Conor got to achieve? What's he got to do extra to beat Hurricane Fly?
I think he's got to put up a display like he put up last year when he won the Triumph. Like,
would that run have been good enough?
I think it would definitely be thereabouts, and I defy anybody not to go back and watch that Triumph Hurdle and not be impressed by what they saw. And I think, you know, he's the horse with a little bit of improvement in him, our Conor. Desi Hughes, he's already won 2 Champion Hurdles with Hardy Eustace. He knows what it takes to get them ready for the big day, and he will have this horse primed for the Tuesday of Cheltenham, and I think that's what you've got in your favour if you're an our Conor fan.
Right, let's bring another one into the equation now. We wind it back to November at Newcastle, the Fighting Fifth Hurdle, which has been a very, very good guide to the Champion Hurdle. And here we see My Tent or Yours coming good, beating Cockney Sparrow. The one that underachieved here was Melodic Rendezvous, because he was wrong, he'd pulled muscles and he's proved, but you know, he's bounced back to form. But My Tent or Yours, this was his sort of seasonal reappearance. It was a good one. It
was, and they left plenty to work on. The one thing that struck me about this horse, having seen him up close this year, is how well he's done, how physically he looks a stronger horse. And that is the one thing that will help him, because last year, when you watch the Supreme Novices Hurdle again, there's no getting away from it. He headed Champagne Fever and he looked like he was going to go and win. And Champagne Fever, whether he outbattled him or outstayed him up the hill, that's always in the back of your mind if you're backing My Tent or Yours. So for me, he needed to get stronger. He looks a physically stronger specimen this year, but like I say, he'll need to be.
Now, we've mentioned, you know, a few of the main contenders. Of course, we haven't mentioned the new one, the Nigel Twiston Davis runner, the new one, because he met My Tent or Yours at Kempton in the Christmas Hurdle, the big encounter here. If he hadn't fluffed his lines at the last, he may well have won. But as it turned out, My Tent or Yours beat him.
That's always the concern, though, with the new one. He's jumping. He can throw in the odd mistake. And there is no... There's no margin for error in a race like the Champion Hurdle.
I was going to say that, because they say, you know, it's true, if he had jumped the last, he probably would have won. But who's to say he's not going to do that again?
Yeah, well, that's always in the back of your mind. You've always got that little worry.
How big a worry would that be for you?
It's huge, because there's 8 flights of hurdles. They go flat out. If you miss a beat, you really are giving yourself no chance of winning. When there's so little between 4 or 5 horses, any little mistake can be magnified, and it would be a slight concern. If he jumps really well, he's got a very good profile coming into the race. You know, Hardy Eustace won 2 Champion Hurdles, he won the Neptune. Istabrack won 3 Champion Hurdles, he won the Neptune. So he's following a fairly familiar path.
How about Melodic Rendezvous, who's now bounced back to form?
You know, I'm a fan of this horse. He's, you know, Jeremy Scott, he's a small trainer. He's not a Paul Nicholls or a Nicky Henderson or a Willie Mullins. But he really raced this horse. And I asked Nick Schofield the other day, Irving, who is favoured for the Supreme Novices Hurdle, I said, if Irving and Melodic Rendezvous were running in the same race, which horse would you ride? He didn't even blink, and he said Melodic Rendezvous.
Really?
Yeah, and when you think you've got one horse who's favoured for the Supreme, and he is without doubt going for Melodic Rendezvous, I think that's a feather in that horse's cap, because he says, look, I think everybody underestimates Melodic Rendezvous. If the ground comes up soft, he's a player.
As we speak, I mean, Willie Mullins has got such a strong hand in the race. We're going to get your selection in a moment. Annie Power, as we speak at the moment, is still in the race. And Ern Dassault, who's unbeaten, at 10 out of 10 or something like that, never beaten at all.
Yeah,
what about him?
He's less exposed, I think, on Dassault. We don't know how good he could be. He's a very strong traveller in the race. I think if he does run, he's going to actually make a lot of people's jobs easier because he's going to set the race up. We will then know how good he really is. And Annie Power, well, you know, it looks like World Hurdle, but if she does turn up in a champion, she'll be a head-scratcher for a lot of punters. But if I had to nail my colours to the mast, my colours are firmly nailed onto Hurricane Fly.
Hurricane Fly for Mick Fitzgerald. Thanks very much for watching at theraces.com and the preview of a champion hurdle.